conventions of a play, we are going to be talking about a few ways. I know some of y'all have read plays before, and some of y'all haven't. We're going to be talking about a few ways that reading a play is different than reading a novel, an article, or some of the other kinds of texts that we've read before. There's a few distinct ways that this happens. The first one that I want to talk about is stage directions. These are going to come up all the time throughout the book, so they're an important thing to be aware of. Stage directions are words that the playwright uses to give instructions to the people who put on a play for how they should be performing it. Stage directions are always in italics and are not read aloud when reading a play. They will be in parentheses when they're in dialogue. There are three main types of stage directions. We're going to go over these now. The first type is setting. The sentence here says, in italics, in the slanted text, a bedroom in Reverend Samuel Parris's house, Salem, Massachusetts, in the spring of the year 1692. So that is not a line of dialogue that is being said by someone, so we are not reading that out loud when we read the book. That is written in there, along with there's another paragraph below it that I didn't include in the image here, about what is going on stage, and maybe you can tell the lighting designer what kind of lighting they need to design for the scene. It tells the actors what kind of a mood they're in, that kind of stuff. That's the first kind of stage direction. The second kind is an instruction on how to say a line. So over here it says, in all caps, Paris. That means Paris is the character saying this line. In italics, it says to Abigail. That means we don't read to Abigail aloud, but this line is being said to Abigail. And then the line is, then you were conjuring spirits last night. So that's the bit that's not in all caps and not in italics. So that's the actual line that we read. That's what's being said aloud. The stuff in italics is just telling you this line is being said to Abigail. There might also be in italics like shouting or whisper or angrily. Or they might say, they might be more specific, like this line is said while they are cutting a fruit in half with a knife or something like that. Stage directions can describe a lot of different ways that we are saying lines or actions that are going on while we're saying lines. The third main kind of stage direction is for entrances and exits. So when we're on a stage, we have the wings, which are where the actors go when they're waiting to be on stage or when they've just left the stage. When they walk on, that's called an entrance. When they walk off the stage, that's called an exit. When they walk from one place on the stage to another, that's called a cross. They're crossing the stage. So entrances, exits, and crosses are written into stage direction. So, for example, here it says, Abigail has the line, come in, Susanna, and then in italics, it says, Susanna Walcott, a little younger than Abigail, enters. So this is, again, not read aloud, it's just telling us Susanna's entering the scene. There's going to be stage directions all the way throughout this. It's going to be a little confusing at first, kind of skipping over those as we're reading, and especially as we're listening to the audiobook, because they will just skip right over them. Stage directions can carry a lot of important understanding in them, but you want to be aware that they're not literal lines being said. The second convention of a play I wanted to talk about is on-stage space. This is how we describe directions and where things are when we're on stage. This also pops up a lot throughout the script, so I wanted to touch on it. Let's imagine that we're on a stage right now, and that the audience starts at the whiteboard and is going back there. So we're on stage, we're facing the audience. How do we describe walking towards the audience? We use the word downstage. When I'm coming this way, I'm coming downstage. When I'm going back up this way, I'm walking away from the audience. We say I'm going upstage. The reason for that is that stages back in the day, so that people far away could see, used to be what's called raked or slanted, so that it was literally tilted up. So as I walked this way, I was literally walking slightly up. I might be like 5 feet higher by the time I got back here than when I was in the front there. The other terms we use are stage left and stage right. So when we're on a stage, we're facing the audience. Stage right is this way, it's to our right. Stage left is this way, it's to our left. All these terms are usually abbreviated, so upstage will be US, downstage DS, stage left SL, and stage right SR, and we'll combine those in different ways. So if we want to say downstage right, we might say DSR or DR for down right. as a little pop quiz, if we're on the stage here, could you all point to what direction down stage right is? This way. Nice work for most of y'all. What about upstage left? Back towards the microwave. We're going upstage and to the left. Awesome. There will be things all throughout here that like Samuel Paris crosses DR. That means he's walking down right. And it's important while you're reading that to be aware, is he walking away from someone or is he walking towards someone? Those are two very different actions. So you want to be keeping track of what that is looking like as you're reading. The last convention of a play I want to talk about is simultaneity, which is a fancy word for two things happening at the same time. If you know the word simultaneous, has the same root. When a playwright wants several characters to speak at the same time, they will put their dialogue side by side rather than one after the other. So I have an example here from the play. This is not like two different images cut and put together. This is just for one line of the play. Normally, when we have lines of dialogue, we have one character's line, then below we have the next character's line, then below we have the next character's line. But sometimes, a playwright might want several people to be speaking at the same time. This can be for a variety of different reasons. It might be that they want there just to be a lot of chaos on stage. Maybe there's a lot of people on stage, someone says something really shocking, and then everybody starts chattering about what's going on. Or maybe two people are arguing and they're just kind of yelling at each other back and forth. And when we're yelling like that, we don't always wait for the other person to finish saying their thing before we say our thing. So they put two lines side by side. Whenever we get to this in reading, especially if we're reading aloud, here we have a line from Betty and here a line from Abigail. Whenever it comes to that, please do not wait for the other person to finish. Say your lines at the same time. We're going to practice that now. We're going to have splitting down in the middle here. This half of the class, you're going to have Betty's line, I saw Alice Barrow with the devil. This half of the class, you're going to have Abigail's line, I saw Goody Hawkins with the devil. Stage left side, could you repeat after me? I saw Alice Barrow with the devil. With a little more emphasis and emotion. I saw Alice Barrow with the devil. Slightly better. Stage right side, could I hear? I saw Goody Hawkins with the devil.
I saw Goody Hawkins with the devil.
All right, we'll take that. Now at the same time, 3, 2, 1.
I saw Goody Hawkins with the devil.
Do you hear the kind of like verbal cascade that causes, where everything becomes a little harder to understand and hear? That's the kind of effect we're going for when this happens. Now imagine there's 36 people, they all have different lines, and they're all saying them at the same time. You can't understand a word anyone's saying, it creates this chaos. Yeah, those are the three conventions of the play I wanted to go over, so you have a little bit better understanding of how to read these as we go into them. So, I'll pass it back over to Mrs. Miller.